Dorohedoro by Q Hayashida and Smiling Friends by Zach Hadel and Michael Cusack are two heavily different stories. In genre alone, one is a dark fantasy body horror, the other is a surreal comedy. Just looking at them, you can see the difference in aesthetic and potential audience. But there is one thing I've realized both properties do bizarrely well, and that's their uncanny ability to have this perfectly coexist with this. Let's talk about the bizarre cohesion of disclaimer out of the way, I will be crediting the plot, character, and world-building choices of Dorohedoro to original manga author Q Hayashida. This isn't to say that screenwriter Hiroshi Seko and director Yuichiro Hayashi had no influence on the presentation of the anime. Their personal touches definitely come through in the feel of the show, but for the stuff I'm talking about here, Q's foundation is what's responsible for the series' direction, especially since her style created an even greater disparity than the anime between the grittiness of the setting versus some of the things that happen within it. Alright, now moving on to Grotesque Wholesomeness Step 1. Establish a core of the story that's wholesome in a vacuum. Putting a weirdly sweet center in a chaotic jawbreaker of a show is the perfect start for this formula. At a base level, Dorohedoro is two friends, Nikaido and Kaiman, trying to help one of them get his real head back, because one day he woke up with a lizard head and can't remember why. In so many applications, this has weirdly cute potential. It's easy to imagine this plot being a French animated film about childhood or something, a kid's Halloween book, or an artsy, charming indie game that takes over the internet, just to name a few. Smiling Friends is about a company that helps sad people smile again, and I feel that one is even more self-explanatory with its wholesome potential. And both series utilize their cores very well. You get great moments like Kaiman taking this silly photo to study his new head for clues, but the only takeaway ends up being this. And on the Smiling Friends side, there's genuinely sweet parts I rewatch constantly, like the gang traveling all the way to China just to honor a Century Egg's final wish.
It's what the egg wanted, Alan.
However, as we know, this is not the vibe of either show in full, because now we go to Step 2. Grotesque Wholesomeness Step 2. Build a grimy world where the core concept is greatly at odds with the tone of everything else. There's a major tenet to keep in mind here for proper application though. Though juxtaposed, the core concept must still have the ability to succeed. If not, you just end up in the cynical zone. The world where good intentions go to die and people are overall terrible to each other for the sake of artistry or comedy. Things just kinda don't work out here most of the time because the world and those in it are unkind and incorrigible. Characters fail at their goals and tend to only look out for themselves. And I'm not writing this design off either. Sometimes it can be really entertaining and very powerful. But the aesthetic we're working with here needs space for more positive potential. The semblance of these people can get better and succeed for the right reasons. It makes the counteracting forces here more jarring. As I said before, the central story point of Dorohedoro could be the center of a bunch of cute projects, but in Dorohedoro, it's in the center of the world of sorcerers and a land called Whole. Whole is a late-stage industrialized megacity where Nikaido and Kaiman live. It's covered in a never-ending cloud of smog and made up of shabby skyscrapers and dilapidated shanty towns. The rain is poisonous, sometimes the dead come back to life due to a dark magic permeating through the soil, and folks are accustomed to the possibility of being turned into a freakish experiment by visiting sorcerers. And in the sorcerer side of the world, even though it's a more beautiful cityscape, you're never far from horrendous activities like corpse parties using bodies as decoration, folks being turned into mushrooms for dinner, and something called contract signing, which is genuinely so disturbing that I don't even want to get into it right now. Q Hayashida really went all out with the unpleasantness of this society. And Smiling Friends takes place in Pennsylvania. So, yeah, pretty similar situation, obviously. So now that your grim world is developed, it's time for Grotesque Wholesomeness Step 3. Craft completely unhinged characters, but with strange moments of normalcy to fill that world. This step is probably the most critical because there are several crossroads here. In the previous step, I mentioned how the cynical zone is close by, but here there's a ton of zone deviations in the road. If you make your characters and world too unhinged with no relatability or grounded story, you can end up in the edgelord zone. It's easy for these kinds of productions to just end up really bad, and then people make make fun of it forever. One town over is the shock value zone, where grotesqueness or off-putting material is the entire purpose of the media. Wholesomeness is used as a facade to only accentuate the brutalization, as opposed to being an actual facet of the story being applied genuinely. If you try to make your unhinged characters have moments of normalcy, but for some reason you have no actual idea how real people talk, you end up in the CW zone.
And they don't seem to have any particular love left for you, Damien. Something to do with hocus and pocus and killing fellow members when you get miffed.
And there are a bunch of other offshoots like that. To truly have grotesque wholesomeness create its uniquely bizarre homeostasis, you gotta have normalcy that matches our world, a modified version of normal that matches their world, and shift between unhinged and the normals in an equal enough ratio that both aspects feel natural for the characters. Smiling Friends in particular does this constant back and forth very impressively with their relatively short 11 minutes per episode. A good example is the restaurant scene from the Season 2 episode Brother's Egg. A mad scientist named Professor Psychotic just got kicked out of his brother's place for being too chaotic and obsessing over growing a homunculus. Charlie takes him to a restaurant to talk and try and figure out a way to get his life back on track. And in barely a minute we hit all the marks discussed, but it flows so naturally that nothing feels out of place.
Do is just watch me. It's very simple. All right, you want to grab a guy there. Okay, you want to see that part right there. You want to twist. You want to pull. You want to grab that part. You want to dip. You want to throw the other piece away. Dip it in some of that, and you just know you enjoy it. It's good. Now you try.
I still can't believe my brother kicked me out. The craziest part is I'm 100% in the right.
No, dude, your brother kind of has a point, okay? This mad scientist stuff is ruining your life. You just got kicked out of your place, dude.
Well, I wouldn't say it's just the mad scientist stuff.
It's definitely the mad scientist. It's definitely the mad scientist stuff, 100%.
But then, what am I gonna do all day?
I mean, dude, you keep bringing up creating life. Have you ever, like, been with a woman? You know you can, like, create life with a woman, right? Like, her?
No, I couldn't do that. I have trouble speaking to women.
Come on, man, it's not that hard. Why don't you just try to practice first? Look, what about that girl right there? She's beautiful. Why don't you try talking to her?
Hello, I am Professor Psychotic. I'm making an egg with my DNA in my evil laboratory. I really thought that would work.
How?
I feel that represents the overall vibe pretty well. Smiling Friends is filled with characters that can have sudden moments of insanity at any time, but they also spend an equal amount of time talking in a bizarrely normal way that always comes off genuine. And I think that's partially due to the way that these regular moments can be self-contained, as opposed to serving as a setup for something violent or crazy. Like this other moment from Season 3 Episode 5 where Alan apologizes to Mr. Boss for being too obsessed with working on vacation.
Hey, Mr. Boss. Sorry about the hot dog incident before.
No, it's okay, Alan. I want you to have a nice vacation, and I don't want you stressed and working all the time. It's not good for you, man.
Well, I guess I can try to relax for a bit. What are you doing here?
Playing Blanco. Want to join?
Sure.
Ooh, my cookies are done! Yay!
Yes, Mr. Boss gets a little quirky at the end, but it's not really a punchline. It's just another established aspect of his character being expressed. It doesn't undermine or cancel out how real and honestly very sweet his accepting of Alan's apology sounded. And since it's Smiling Friends, this tender moment happens within minutes of But in general, no matter how twisted things can get, the gang usually ends up at a net positive. The world, though unstable, provides opportunities and lucky moments as often as it places unfortunate blockades. They do regularly succeed at making people happy again. It's just a very eclectic road to get there, frequently filled with gruesome moments. Dorohedoro uses the same concepts even though it's tonally in a very different place, being more horror drama focused but still with a good string of humor. There's an extraction mission that goes horribly wrong, resulting in Nikaido disgustingly growing a mushroom out of her back, but then after it's cut off, she's just happily back at work. There's a sequence with Shin and Noi absolutely decimating a group of thugs in ways I again can't fully show, and then it hard cuts to them eating ice cream.
ありがとうございました。
気にすんな、ヘナチョコ野郎。アイス食って忘れちまえ。
There's the character Johnson being introduced as a pretty upsetting man-eating bug monster, but then later he's playing baseball and drinking tea. Oh, just look at him with his stupid, cute little teacup. Like, how am I getting cuteness aggression from this monstrosity? Kyu Hayashida, what have you done? The various situations in Whole and the Land of Sorcerers are similar in how they're set up. Yeah, there's gruesome zombies you have to protect yourself from, but there's also a zombie festival with really fun prizes. The sorcerer event called Blue Night has a disgusting, horrifying purpose, but I can't help but smile during the preparation montage involving food tasting, reviewing a play, and Mr. N's love of his weird cat-dog demon pet thing. Dorohedoro has the benefit of a longer runtime compared to Smiling Friends, so they're also able to slow things down more often. This benefits the horror drama tone, letting things build and grow more dire before reaching various upsetting peaks. But it also helps the quieter moments where the characters aren't being thrown into horrific battles. When we get to just listen to them talk about how much they enjoy gyoza, their cherished memories with one another, and seeing previously established perceptions of people get challenged when folks do kind-hearted things even though it's outside of their best interest. As both of these shows progress and you become more accustomed to their style, what begins as tonal whiplash eventually settles into a cohesive viewing experience. Because of the consistency and careful formation of the characters, you start becoming less surprised by someone going on a disgusting rampage followed by a genuinely moving conversation. But just because you're less surprised doesn't mean it's boring, because I can honestly say the type of content these shows deliver becomes consistent, but the method they do so remains creative and unpredictable. And that's due to a great focus on developed characters that are fun to watch, and a constantly pushed envelope for what directions the story can go. It's one of those things where you'll be on rewatch number 3, but a friend is visiting, so you just go, "Hey, you want to check this show out? I really like it." And as things keep happening, they might say something like, "Oh my god, is the whole thing like this?" And you, having been indoctrinated for a while, see it through new eyes again, and go, yeah, I guess it is. These shows are brutal. They're funny, they're weirdly cute at times, and in the blink of an eye, they can drop nightmare fuel on you, and it's so strangely charming. They are grotesquely wholesome. Hey, thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed it, and I really appreciate you giving me your time. Also, I want to give a round of applause for my first official patron, Jeff. Come on guys, let's hear it for Jeff. Yeah, this video was pretty much a way to get out this bizarre yin-yang excitement and depression that I have with Dorohedoro coming back from the dead after like 6 years, immediately coinciding with Smiling Friends' just surprise ending. It was a lot to take in. And yeah, this is just a weird thing they have in common. Make sure to tell me some other grotesquely wholesome pieces of media that you really enjoy for me to check out below. Yeah. Thanks for being here.